This is a story that will leave you shaken to your core. A family's grief turns into a nightmare when one son takes 277 selfies with his dead mother, and it gets much darker from there. What starts as a tragic loss soon spirals into a chilling series of events, exposing a betrayal so disturbing it rips the family apart. How far can grief push someone to cross boundaries? What was the true motivation behind the shocking actions? Stay with us as we unravel a story of love, loss, and twisted betrayal that you won't believe. You don't want to miss this. The tragedy. In a quiet neighborhood, a family's life took an unimaginable turn, one that would haunt them forever. It all began with the sudden death of a beloved mother, leaving behind a family already struggling with their own emotional battles. The pain of losing her was overwhelming, and the family was left to grieve, hoping to find comfort in each other. However, what unfolded after her death was something no one could have ever anticipated. While most would expect a family to come together in times of loss, this tragedy led to a series of events that would tear them apart. One family member, deeply affected by his grief, began to capture the moments of his mother's death in a disturbing way. He took 277 selfies with her lifeless body, a bizarre and unsettling act that shocked those around him. But it didn't stop there. The situation grew darker as it was revealed that he had subjected her to further acts of disrespect, leaving his family in utter disbelief. What was initially seen as grief turned into something much darker, leading to heartbreak, betrayal, and a family forever marked by this tragedy. The painful truth about his actions would soon unravel, leaving a trail of emotional destruction that would be hard to heal. Unexpected discovery. As the days passed, the family struggled to cope with their loss. Grief lingered heavily in the air, and they all tried to find ways to honor the memory of the mother they had lost. But in the midst of their mourning, an unexpected discovery would expose the truth behind the disturbing selfies and unravel the family's fragile sense of security. It began with a simple search. A family member was cleaning out the deceased mother's belongings, hoping to find something to remember her by. Among the items, a phone was found, one that had belonged to the son who had been most affected by her death. Curious, the family member began to scroll through the pictures, assuming they would find cherished memories of the family. But instead, they were met with an unsettling series of photos. The screen was filled with images of the son posing with his dead mother in various states of deterioration, as though they were part of a sickening photo shoot. The selfies, 277 in total, showed him in bizarre, unnatural poses with his mother's lifeless body. His emotions in each photo seemed disconnected from the gravity of the situation. Some images seemed playful, others disturbing. It was a chilling reminder of how far the son's grief had twisted into something dark and perverse. The family was shocked. How could this have happened? How had they not noticed his behavior? What started as an innocent moment of mourning turned into a nightmare none of them had expected. This discovery would forever change their understanding of what truly happened after the mother's death, and it began to tear apart the very foundation of the family: a mother's love. In the wake of the shocking discovery, the family couldn't help but remember the woman they had lost, the mother whose love had been the glue that held them all together. She was the heart of their home, the one who had always put her family first, showering them with care and attention, even in the toughest times. Her love was unconditional, a constant presence in their lives. She had raised her children with unwavering devotion, making sure they never lacked for anything. Her sacrifices were countless, and she had always been there to support them, no matter the situation. Her love was the kind that never wavered, always patient, always kind. But now, in her absence, the family was left to reflect on her legacy. They couldn't understand how something so twisted could come from someone they had known and loved their whole lives. The son who had once been the recipient of her unconditional care had become a figure of darkness in this tragedy. casting a shadow on everything she had worked so hard to build. The love she had given them had nurtured them, helped them grow, and provided them with a sense of security. Yet now that she was gone, it was as though her love was being dishonored, leaving the family torn between mourning the loss of her nurturing presence and grappling with the horrifying reality of how her death had been treated. Her legacy, which should have been one of warmth and comfort, was now clouded by the son's actions, and the family was left to pick up the pieces of what remained of their once strong bond. The mother's love had been pure, but the aftermath of her passing revealed a stark contrast, a love now overshadowed by a chilling betrayal, a sinister act. As the truth behind the son's disturbing actions slowly came to light, the family was horrified by the depth of his betrayal. What initially seemed like a manifestation of extreme grief quickly revealed itself to be a sinister, premeditated act. The son had not simply been mourning, he had taken his mother's death and turned it into something macabre, as if trying to control and possess her, even in death. In a chilling twist, it was discovered that the son had kept his mother's body in his home for an extended period, far longer than anyone could have expected. Instead of seeking help or processing his grief in a healthy way, he chose to photograph his mother's lifeless form. Each of the 277 selfies he had taken painted a grotesque picture of a young man lost in obsession and denial. But it didn't end with the selfies. The most horrifying part of this discovery was the shocking revelation that he had subjected her body to further degradation. In his mind, perhaps, he was preserving the memory of their relationship in a way that was twisted but comforting to him. However, the family was left to question how someone they had loved and raised could fall so far into madness. This was no longer just an act of mourning. It was a horrifying display of control, manipulation, and disrespect for the woman who had given him life. The line between grief and deranged behavior had been completely erased, and the consequences of his actions were irreversible. The family could never look at him the same way again, and the entire household was left to deal with the psychological and emotional fallout of what he had done. The sinister act had irrevocably altered the course of their lives. What should have been a time of honoring a beloved mother turned into a nightmare that no one was prepared to face. The family's grief was now compounded with anger and betrayal, making it nearly impossible to find a way forward. Family betrayal. The discovery of the son's horrific actions shattered the family in ways no one could have anticipated. What should have been a time of mourning and remembrance had now become a battlefield of emotions, accusations, and broken trust. The family, once united by love and a shared sense of loss, was now divided, unable to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the person who had committed such a vile act. The betrayal cut deep. How could the son, whom they had raised and loved, do something so unspeakable? His actions not only dishonored the memory of his mother, but also violated the very foundation of family loyalty and trust. The grief that once united them now tore them apart, as each family member struggled to understand how something so twisted could happen within their own home. The son's silence on the matter only added to the pain. He offered no explanation, no remorse. His actions spoke louder than any words could convey, and the family was left to grapple with the emptiness that came with his refusal to take responsibility. His refusal to apologize or acknowledge the damage he had caused only deepened the wound. The betrayal was felt most acutely by the siblings, who had grown up together, sharing memories of their mother's love. They could no longer look at each other in the same way, their bond now marred by the shadow of the son's actions. The family was forever changed, and the once solid foundation of trust was now in ruins. As the story spread, even the community began to turn their backs on the family. The betrayal had left a scar that no amount of time or explanation could heal. In the end, the family's greatest loss wasn't just the mother. They had lost each other. The ties that once bound them together had been forever broken by the twisted actions of one. The aftermath. The aftermath of this tragedy was devastating for the entire family. The loss of their mother was already an unbearable grief, but the actions of the son added a layer of torment that would haunt them forever. Trust was shattered, relationships were torn apart, and the family was left to pick up the pieces of what was once a strong and loving unit. The son, now isolated and rejected, faced the consequences of his actions. His reputation was forever tarnished, and no one, not even his closest family, could look at him the same way. The family members, though they were left broken, sought healing in their own ways. Some tried to find closure, while others found themselves unable to forgive. The pain of betrayal lingered, leaving the family forever changed. They would never forget the mother they had lost, but they also could never forget the unimaginable acts that tore them apart. The tragic story of love, loss, and betrayal would echo through their lives for years to come. This story of heartbreak and betrayal has left us questioning the limits of grief and family loyalty. What would you do if you found out your loved one had acted in such a way? Can you ever truly recover from such a deep betrayal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss our next video, the tragic story of Lauren McCluskey, murder college student killed after dumping her boyfriend, coming soon. You won't believe the shocking details.